Someone is sitting in the shade today because someone planted a tree a long time ago. Only when the tide goes out do you discover who's been swimming naked. It takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. If you think about that, you'll do things differently. Risk comes from not knowing what you're doing. Price is what you pay. Value is what you get. Chains of habit are too light to be felt until they are too heavy to be broken. Rule no. 1. Never lose money. Rule no. 2. Never forget rule no. 1. It's far better to buy a wonderful company at a fair price than a fair company at a wonderful price. When a management with a reputation for brilliance tackles a business with a reputation for bad economics, it is the reputation of the business that remains intact. We simply attempt to be fearful when others are greedy, and to be greedy only when others are fearful. Predicting rain doesn't count, building arcs does. Should you find yourself in a chronically leaking boat, energy devoted to changing vessels is likely to be more productive than energy devoted to patching leaks. Wall Street is the only place that people ride to in a Rolls-Royce to get advice from those who take the subway. In the business world, the rearview mirror is always clearer than the windshield. I buy expensive suits, they just look cheap on me. I don't look to jump over 7-foot bars. I look around for 1-foot bars that I can step over. The only way to get love is to be lovable. It's very irritating if you have a lot of money. You'd like to think you could write a check, I'll buy $1 million worth of love. But it doesn't work that way. The more you give love away, the more you get. The first rule is not to lose. The second rule is not to forget the first rule. It's better to hang out with people better than you. Pick out associates whose behavior is better than yours and you'll drift in that direction. Time is the friend of the wonderful company, the enemy of the mediocre. Derivatives are financial weapons of mass destruction. I always knew I was going to be rich. I don't think I ever doubted it for a minute. Wide diversification is only required when investors do not understand what they are doing. You only have to do a very few things right in your life, so long as you don't do too many things wrong. When you combine ignorance and leverage, you get some pretty interesting results. Only buy something that you'd be perfectly happy to hold if the market shut down for 10 years. Look at market fluctuations as your friend rather than your enemy. Profit from folly rather than participate in it. We enjoy the process far more than the proceeds. The investor of today does not profit from yesterday's growth. Our favorite holding period is forever. The best thing I did was to choose the right heroes. There seems to be some perverse human characteristic that likes to make easy things difficult. Economic medicine that was previously meted out by the cupful has recently been dispensed by the barrel. These once unthinkable dosages will almost certainly bring on unwelcome after effects. Their precise nature is anyone's guess. The one likely consequence is an onslaught of inflation. Basically, when you get to my age, you'll really measure your success in life by how many of the people you want to have love you actually do love you. If past history was all there was to the game, the richest people would be librarians. Beware of geeks bearing formulas. Today people who hold cash equivalents feel comfortable. They shouldn't. They have opted for a terrible long-term asset. One that pays virtually nothing and is certain to depreciate in value. Risk is a part of God's game, alike for men and nations. Your premium brand had better be delivering something special, or it's not going to get the business. If a business does well, the stock eventually follows. A public opinion poll is no substitute for thought. Of the billionaires I have known, money just brings out the basic traits in them: if they were jerks before they had money. They are simply jerks with $1 billion. Value is what you get. The rich are always going to say that, you know. Just give us more money and we'll go out and spend more. And then it will all trickle down to the rest of you. But that has not worked the last 10 years, and I hope the American public is catching on. I never attempt to make money on the stock market. I buy on the assumption that they could close the market the next day and not reopen it for 5 years. We believe that according to the name investors, to institutions that trade actively is like calling someone who repeatedly engages in one night stands a romantic. It's never paid to bet against America. We come through things, but it's not always a smooth ride. If you get to my age in life and nobody thinks well of you, I don't care how big your bank account is, your life is a disaster. If anything, taxes for the lower and middle class and maybe even the upper middle class should even probably be cut further. But I think that people at the high end, people like myself, should be paying a lot more in taxes. We have it better than we've ever had it. I think the most important factor in getting out of the recession actually is just the regenerative capacity of American capitalism. The smarter the journalists are, the better off society is. For to a degree, people read the press to inform themselves, and the better the teacher, the better the student body. I think that both parties should declare the debt limit as a political weapon of mass destruction which can't be used. I mean, it is silly to have a country that has 237 years building up its reputation and then have people threaten to tear it down because they're not getting some other matter. I sent one email in my life. I sent it to Jeff Rakes at Microsoft, and it ended up in court in Minneapolis. So I am one for one. I bought a company in the mid-90s called Dexter Shoe and paid $400 million for it, and it went to zero. And I gave about $400 million worth of Berkshire stock, which is probably now worth $400 billion, but I've made lots of dumb decisions. That's part of the game. In the 20th century, the United States endured 2 world wars and other traumatic and expensive military conflicts, the Depression, a dozen or so recessions and financial panics, oil shocks, a flu epidemic, and the resignation of a disgraced president. Yet the Dow rose from 66 to 11,497. The big question about how people behave is whether they've got an inner scorecard or an outer scorecard. It helps if you can be satisfied with an inner scorecard. The business schools reward difficult, complex behavior more than simple behavior, but simple behavior is more effective. We're still in a recession. We're not gonna be out of it for a while, but we will get out. Americans are in a cycle of fear, which leads to people not wanting to spend and not wanting to make investments. And that leads to more fear. We'll break out of it. It takes time. I am quite serious when I say that I do not believe there are, on the whole earth besides, so many intensified bores as in these United States. No man can form an adequate idea of the real meaning of the word without coming here. Warren Buffett is an American business magnate, investor, and philanthropist. He is widely regarded as one of the most successful investors in the world. Buffett is the chairman and CEO of Berkshire Hathaway, a multinational conglomerate holding company. His investment strategies and long-term value approach have earned him the nickname Oracle of Omaha. Buffett is known for his frugal lifestyle and wise investment decisions, often focusing on companies with strong fundamentals and competitive advantages. He has consistently ranked among the wealthiest individuals globally and has pledged to donate a significant portion of his wealth to philanthropic causes. Buffett is also admired for his straightforward and insightful advice on investing and business. His annual letters to Berkshire Hathaway shareholders are widely read and analyzed by investors worldwide.